Okay, yeah. So that brings us to the end of the second discussion based off Kaushik's viewpoints. So I think the first two discussions were a little away from our topic today, that is Janata Curfew. So next we'll be going to Arun. So the last two discussions we'll try to focus it more towards Janata Curfew and the impacts of Janata Curfew and what are the other things related to Janata Curfew. So yes, Arun, if you could give us your viewpoints now.
Okay, so as I was telling, I want to look at this from a perspective of a citizen of this country, Indian citizen. So this virus has hit equally to everyone. It's not differentiating, it's not discriminating. So we have to look at and how are we equal? We have to see how are we equal. We are the citizens of this country. So that's that's my idea. So look. So the first thing is I am sure you might have all heard Prime Minister Modi's speech. So I am looking in, like, my friends and all are posting stories regarding this Janata curfew. One day we have to hold. Some people are questioning that, like, why should we observe curfew and all. So first thing I want to point out is we are living in a democracy. So we can't, like, government cannot put an official curfew because of this reason. It doesn't come under any law, so it doesn't come under any article, so we can't put official curfew. So he's just requesting us. And the second point is I'm not sure whether the curfew will help or not, because some sources say that Corona leaves for 12 hours. Shravan, you should know this better. Like, as a medical student, you would know the effects of Corona, like how the virus, it requires a host, but in 12 hours there is something that happens. So this, but what I think is important, what I think that is important is, like, Prime Minister Modi made a speech or someone else, government official made a speech. I think this is a request from the democracy of our country. Like, we have enjoyed the privilege of democracy for so long.
Yeah.
So one thing, like, we feel like we have rights and everything, and it's like by default human rights you need to have. But in some countries there are dictatorships, monarchy and all, where there's no public opinion, and people are like people force, like, the leaders force people to do things. But Modi has requested us. That means, like, if anyone would have spoken, anyone from the government, it's just a request for all. You have enjoyed the privilege of democracy. You have done this, you have done that. You live in a free country. We request we request some time from your life, some time, because this is a thing that we can't stop on our own. We can't enforce on people. It's basically a request, what I feel, and I feel that we need to obey that, because 99% of people won't be knowing what are do's and don'ts at this time. I'm sure. Do's and don'ts, I don't mean hand wash and all those things. I mean the knowledge of corona and coronavirus. 99%, because scientists even don't know. How can we as citizens know? And the best people who can inform us on this is the government. That's why we have selected them. And that's the responsibility. And that's why he comes in, he requests. We need to appreciate that. One day distancing, I don't think it would have a major impact on anyone's life, because statistically also we have seen, like, in the shift from phase 2 to phase 3 took place in week 3 and week 4 after the effect was done. The shift, I mean, was like it was 100 affected to 1000 affected. If that problem hits India, then it's really terrible. So we don't know for how long the Janata curfew will be. Prime Minister told that observe it on Sunday. Maybe he's like, he wants to, like, test it. He wants to see how the statistics change if we do that. So I think we have to do this as a responsible citizen, as we owe to this democracy, we owe to this country. Yeah, that's why we have to do this.
So if does that conclude your viewpoints, Arun? Yeah.
Let's move forward to the discussion.
Yeah. So this is these are really good points that was brought about. So, in fact, I had made a small note of some of the few things which I might want to discuss later on, also in case it's not brought up in the viewpoints or the discussions we are having. But one of the most important points that Arun brought up was the time span of the virus surviving outside the host. So the thing is, there are a lot of variable research things, research results that have come out, and none of which point to a certain specific time period the virus can survive. In very hot climate, the virus is said to survive for a very short duration of time. In a much colder climate, it survives for a longer duration of time. That is why in a room filled with AC, it would survive for a much more longer period of time compared to outside in the atmosphere where it is quite hot, at least in the summer months in India, in at least southern India especially, and parts of northern India also. So that's what. So there was a very interesting. So if you go through statuses in WhatsApp, one of the statuses said that the curfew period is around 14 hours, whereas the survival period of the virus is only 12 hours. So technically, the curfew, which is 14 hours, you will not go out into the community and get the virus from the community which is present in the community. You will have to go to a host and only then get it back. That is one thing, which is a very valid point, in fact. So next, also request about talking about time. Arun said that it is Modi. He's just requesting for time from people, and like he said, it is the time from people on a Sunday. Even usually on a Sunday, most of your economic activities are less. The only economic activities that are majorly there is related to shopping, and maybe a few other commodities and things like that. So here, if you look at it, like Arun said, it will not make a major impact on us, and it will also serve as a method to test the integrity of our people in adhering to a self-imposed curfew. So, like he also said, a democracy cannot just impose a curfew like this on everyone. For that, they'll have to declare a national emergency, like how America has declared, or India had declared during the time of Indira Gandhi. So these are very important points. Ganesh, Koushik, do you have any points on this?
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, Koushik.
So, as you said about the economic activity of shopping on a Sunday, which is very important because Sunday is one day where people, especially the corporates, get to take time out from their busy life and busy schedule. So, one of the major points our Honorable Prime Minister had pointed out is to continue with the regular buying and not panic buying or hoarding. Yeah. Which I think you had earlier mentioned in Ranjani's viewpoints, the Japanese student.
Yes.
So I think it's a very sensible point of our Honorable Prime Minister to say so, because if we actually panic buy at this time, it's not going. It'll be a very selfish motive, and we won't be able to give everyone. For example, products like hand sanitizers and masks were just out in a few days, where medical shops themselves had to put out banners saying these are not available. And I don't think that being a country or being together shows the respect that we have got for one another if we panic buy. So I think to continue with our normal routine and in a way to adjust with whatever is there at home is very important to be realized. It can also be seen as a way of discipline to live your life that day. So that's a very sensible point put forward by our Honorable Prime Minister.
I just want to add one point to Koushik, is that a major number of associations, shop owners associations have actually come forward to support the curfew by shutting down their shops. So this is a major step forward, because keeping shops closed will help promote people to stay at home and will prevent them from coming outside on a self-imposed curfew. So this is a very very nice thing that a lot of associations are lending hand to the curfew. Ganesh, do you have any viewpoints on this?
Adding to that as well, the Delhi government is also supporting the curfew by stopping all the metro operations for tomorrow. And I guess it's a very subtle decision to keep the curfew on a Sunday because, we also naturally know that Sunday there's not usually a lot of movement. So it isn't making the people to work a lot, saying that it's not making them push their boundaries and try to minimize their activity. It's usually low on a Sunday. So in that way, I guess the government is also very thoughtful about that. So, and I do support the version which has been proposed by our Prime Minister.
Okay, so if we're done with this discussion, shall we move on to Ganesh's viewpoints? Yeah? Okay. So we come to the conclusion of our third discussion. So